Author, playwright, writer, and speaker, coach, mentor, business owner, former Marine, blah, 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 blah. Also did real estate. Back in 2006, I had 16 income producing properties. Okay, of those properties, one was an apartment that had 7 units in it, 7 apartments in it, and the other was single family dwellings, meaning houses, okay? Here's the thing about it. Most of the properties that I bought back in 2006, and I'm sorry guys, I'm doing this horizontally, so I don't know where quite to look, so I apologize, my eyes seem all over the place. But when I started buying properties in 2006, I typically bought property that was foreclosed upon, property that was being sold for $8,000, $10,000, $30,000, did not have a tenant in the house. And what I would do is I would purchase those properties. I purchased the property for $8 grand, put $3,000 worth of rehab into it, meaning some paint. If it needed a roof, I'd get a roof put on. If it needed some carpet, or if it needed the carpet taken out, I would do that. I would spend anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 to do that here in Williamsburg County. And then what I would do is turn around and put a tenant into the house, and I would charge them rent on a house that I owned free and clear. Then what I would do is I would go to the bank and I would refinance that home because it had all of the equity in it. I owned it 100% free and clear, and now I'd increased the value because I had done some rehab on it, you know, either a new roof or a new unit or some painting in the inside and all that good stuff. And I would typically get a loan value, LTV, of 90%. So if the house costs, if the house value was $100,000, I would go and borrow $90,000 off the house. That's your LTV, 90%, or sometimes 65% of the value. If the house values at $100,000, 65% of $100,000 is a $65,000 loan over 30 years, and of course the interest rate. And I would have a tenant in my house that was paying that mortgage, and here it was, I was holding money that was tax-free, and I was living high on the hog. So I did that for the majority of my properties until I bought this apartment complex, which leads me to this quick class that I want to give you. If you like what you're hearing so far, this is what I want you to do. I want you to text the word Suham to 77948. Text the word Suham to 77948 because we're going to do a real estate class, and it's going to be 100% free, and it's going to be either in the last part of August or the first part of September. And text the word Suham to 77948, and you will be given the early access to subscribe and take that class. So let me continue to go on what I'm saying. One of the properties I bought was an apartment complex that had 7 apartments. It was a huge house, okay? It was a huge house that had 7 apartments in it. And I'm talking about full-fledged apartments. The living room, the kitchen, the bedrooms, everything, okay? And I was just so giddy. I was so excited because I love taking ugly things and making them beautiful. I'm a creative person. I love working with nothing and seeing it bloom into something beautiful. That's why I like to go to the barbershop and watch guys with their hair looking all crazy, and then they get out of the barber chair and it's like, wow, amazing. Well, I could go in and I could see a property, see it being distressed, but I could see beyond that and see what it could become. And then I could also see the money that I could make off that property. So when it came to this apartment complex that had the 7 units in it, right? I was just blown away by the fact that I was going to own an apartment complex. Here it is, a young girl from the country, didn't have any money, and here it is, you know, boom, I'm making money, and it's easy money, residual money, and so I didn't do my research. Again, I had never brought property that had tenants. Typically, I had brought property that was foreclosed upon that I was getting for $8,000 and $10,000. Then I was improving the value and then going to the banks and getting $50,000 and $60,000 checks based off the refi. Okay, that's money I'm putting into my account. So when I got this apartment, it already had 7 tenants in it. Well, I learned a valuable lesson. I want you to go ahead right now. I'm going to take this down because I'm going to tell you what I learned. I want you to go ahead on your mobile device, or write this down if you're watching me on your mobile device. Write this down. When you get off this live, I want you to text the word Suham to 77948 so you can be put on our mailing list to let you know when our real estate class is coming in August, and it's 100% free. So when I got the apartments, right, they already had the 7 tenants in there. Here's something I failed to do. I was watching a real estate class on yesterday, and it was like, if you're buying a property and it has tenants in it, these are the steps that you need to take to ensure that you don't screw yourself. And when I learned this, right, by the bad experience I had, and then when I relearned it by listening to the training yesterday, I decided I wanted to share it with you. So if you are acquiring property, whether it's a duplex, whether it's a triplex, or whether it's a quad, or whether it's multi, meaning more than 4 units, right? More than 4 tenants, more than 4 doors. These are questions that you need to ask yourself if it already has tenants in it. Number 1, who are your tenants? Who are they? Who are they? Do they have criminal records? Are they reliable? Are they honest? Are they trustworthy? Are they real people? Or are the sellers making up fake lease to just pretend somebody's living there and it's really their cousin or their brother and it's really not a real tenant? This is something that you really need to check into. Who are they? Who are the people that are currently in that house or in that multi-unit? Okay? When was the lease executed? When was the lease executed? Prime example. And I ran into this when I had my apartments. I took over ownership of the apartments. I bought the apartments. Well, guess what? There are some people whose leases were about to expire in like a couple of months. Think about that. Their leases were about to expire in a couple of months. So I had not done my due diligence and done a lease audit of this place. And what I mean by lease audit, I didn't ask myself the questions that I'm going over with you guys. I didn't look over the paperwork to ensure that I was going to make a profit off of this property. I was just too excited and too giddy about the fact that I was going to own an apartment place, right? That I sunk myself into a hole. And I see my friend Kevin Johnson is on here. Kevin Johnson and I will be teaching this real estate class in August. If not late August, it'll be early September. Kevin Johnson is a real estate guru, and he's going to be sharing some tips with you guys. We were on the phone just a few minutes ago, about an hour, and he was enlightening me on some things. So, when was the lease executed? Because if the lease is about to expire in a month, 2 months, 3 months, you have the potential of losing a tenant if they do not re-up the lease. If you're going to lose that tenant, now you're losing income. Now think about that, because that's very important when you're getting into this debt, right? You don't want it. You want it to be good debt. Not all debt is bad debt. You want this to be good debt to the point where your income far exceeds it. So when was the lease executed? All right. Another question is, how do they pay? How do they pay? Are they paying you by check? Are they paying you by cash? Are they paying you on time? When you do your lease audit of the place that you're going into, these are the things that you need to ask. Are they making their payments on time? Is it by check? Is it by cash? Because if the people that you're buying the property from, if they're taking all cash payments, how do you know they're not giving you fraudulent paperwork just to sell the property, just to make it look like income is coming in? How do you know that? One of the ways to know if it's a legit tenant is, do they have their license on deck? This is something I always did. It didn't matter. When people went into the single family houses that I had, I always got a copy of their license. You always want to have a copy of their license. If you're buying this property, the tenants that are currently in there, do the owners have a copy of their driver's license? If they're working, do they have a copy of their W-2s? If they're not working, do they have a copy of their award letter for retirement or Social Security? Something that's showing that they're getting the income to prove that they can live there. Now, here's something I learned in my class yesterday that I didn't even know 10, 15 years ago, is that you have to make sure they're making enough money to be able to pay the rent. Me personally, I'm thinking, okay, I just got tenants, they're gonna make the rent and that's it. Don't set people up for failure. One of the reasons why you want to look at the W-2s or the award letters or however they're making money is to ensure that they can afford your rent. So if your rent is $700 a month, they should be making at least 3 times your rent in the monthly, in a monthly space. So if it's $700 a month, they should be making 7 times 3, $2,100 to be able to afford your $700 rent. If they're only making $1,000 a month, how in the world are they going to be able to afford $700 rent? How in the world are they going to be able to do that? They might be able to do it for a little while, but chances are they're not going to be able to keep that up, because more than likely they're going to have cable, they're going to have internet, they're going to have phone, they're going to have gas, they're going to have some type of other expense, food, some medical, some expense that's probably going to compromise you getting your rent. Now, here's something else that I learned on yesterday that I never even thought about when I bought my apartments back in 2006. Very, very important. How many people are in the house? How many people in the house? Why is that important? Well, if you're buying an apartment complex or if you're buying a duplex and you're telling them, hey, water and sewer, we'll pay for it, and you have a bunch of people living, let's just go with a duplex. You got a bunch of people living in that duplex, and you know that typically if it's 1 to 2 persons in there, your water bill might be $40 a month. Well, because you failed to ask how many people are living in the unit, and they bring in 6 or 7 people, and 6 or 7 people are taking showers and cooking at all different times, now your water bill is no longer $40, $50 a month. Your water bill is $150 a month, which is cutting into your net operating income. But because you failed to ask how many people will be living in that unit, and you are paying the water bill and the sewer, now you're taking on that extra income, which again is that extra debt, which again is cutting into your income. So it is very important that you stipulate in your lease how many people can live in that property. That's why some lease agreements, if they may say only 2 people can live in this property. And if it's over 2 people, they're either charging you an extra $25 or an extra $40 per person that lives in that unit. And then they also cap it out. Because this is your property, people. You don't want a family of 8 living in an apartment that only should have 2 people in it. Because when they move out, those 8 people, all those damages are on your neck. So it's very important to ask how many people do you intend to have living in this house, in this duplex, or whatever it is that you're renting, whether it's a room or whatever. You need to get that in your lease. You need to know that so that you can move forward in the right way. Tell me something. Is this making sense? Give me some hearts. Give me some love if y'all liking this information. Give me some hearts, some loves. If you're liking this information, else I'm going to cut the live off. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me see if you got any questions real quick. My co-instructor, Kevin Johnson from Columbia, he's done a lot of amazing things. He and I will be teaching a free real estate webinar the end of August or either in the 1st of September. It's going to be 100% free for you guys because we want to see you win. All right, so let's see if anybody's got any questions or comments, and then I'll go on to the next step. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, I don't see any questions, so we'll keep it moving. So, is this good stuff so far? Comment below. Is this good stuff so far? Have you learned something? I'm sharing with you my experiences that I went through in 2006, as well as some things that I learned in the last couple of days in a class I just took. But again, these are important questions and important things to know from your tenants. I want to make sure I got everything. Last but not least, well, it's 2 more things. You also want to get a credit report. Now, I know for me, when I was doing my properties, I didn't get a credit report, okay? I figured if somebody could bring me their first and last month rent, then typically they could afford to stay there in my rental properties. And typically that was the case until, we went to the financial boom and then people were losing jobs and they couldn't afford it, okay? So I don't typically do a credit report, but I know in bigger cities, credit report is key. And the reason for that is if you left your last place that you rented and didn't pay them, then chances are you're gonna repeat the same thing at my place. So usually people don't rent to people with a bad rental history, or they're requiring a bigger deposit, a bigger freaking deposit. How should you determine a security deposit? Good question, Crystal. For me, what I did was my security deposit was the same as my first month's rent. That's the way I did it. Now, again, if you have a pet, you may want, if you're allowing pets on your properties, which I didn't, I'm afraid of dogs and cats, and plus I don't want that extra problem of cleaning the premises or somebody destroying my property. But if you have a pet, you're gonna wanna charge a huge fee. I think most fees are $200-300. You have to Google it and see what the average is, and some of them make it non-refundable. So, because that's a big risk when you have a pet. Because not only that you're talking about your insurance on the property could possibly go up because you have animals on the property that could possibly harm other tenants. So that's something to think about. Me personally, I stayed away from that. But if you do have pets, you should be charging a security fee for the pets, and you should be charging higher rent for the pets, okay? Keep that in mind. Now, I think somebody asked about how to obtain property when taxes are not paid. Okay, you can go down to your local courthouse or to your local town office. They have a listing of properties for people who are not paying their taxes. All right, here's the thing about that. I never purchased any of those. I never went to the list, but I do intend to do that this year. You can get houses for pennies on a dollar, sometimes less than that. Basically, you're getting it, right? But there's a 1-year waiting period for that, because someone has up to a year to redeem their property if they have not paid their taxes. But here's the good thing, you're still winning, because in that 1-year holding period, right, that the county or the town or whoever has your money that for the property that you're trying to buy, you make interest on that. So even if the owner is able to come up with the money for their taxes within that 1 year, you're still making money off the time that they held your money. So it's kind of like a win-win situation. And then if the owner cannot pay the taxes, because sometimes the owner is deceased, sometimes the owner has moved on and does not care about the taxes, sometimes it's just something they just want to get out of their hands, you know, you just want to be done with it, then the property becomes yours. So, and typically tax sales happen, I think like October, November time frame is when you want to start getting down to your courthouse or to your county office or to your city or town office and start asking about those properties. I am scrolling and looking for your questions. Hopefully that answered your question, Deetra. Was it difficult to secure a loan to purchase your first investment property? That is something that Kevin is going to talk to you about. I will discuss it briefly right now. Kevin was able to get loans with no money down, get properties, with no money down. And in the free real estate webinar that we're going to do, we're going to tell you how to do that. For me, what I did was I had my own money. When I seen a house for $8,000, first, let's back it up. Relationships. I had a relationship with a realtor here. And every time that realtor would get a foreclosed home, something that was really decent, he knew that I would jump on, right? He would call me and he would go look at the house. And we had such a great relationship to the point where he wouldn't even accompany me to the house. He would just give me the lock code and I would go look at the house. Now, I had a relationship with my attorney, my closing attorney, who would just close the loans really, really quick, right? That was the first step. So I would go buy the house with the money out of my pocket. $8,000 houses or $10,000 houses, $12,000 houses, $30,000 houses, I would buy them out of my pocket, right? That's how I first got started. After I bought the house for $8,000, I would then get the house painted, if it needed siding or something like that. It just depends on the property. Or if it needed a roof, depending on the property. I would go ahead and get all that done, get the rehabilitation done. The rehab is what it's called. And then, at that time, because there was no mortgage on the property, it was all the equity was there because I paid for it in cash, no loan on it. It was very, very easy for me to go to any bank and get a loan because now I'm asking you to give me a refinance, give me the equity on the home I just bought that I own now, that I just fixed up a little bit, made it look really good. And I now have a tenant in it. So now I'm also getting income. It was very easy at the time for me to be able to walk into a bank and say, how I'd like to borrow money on this. Because guess what? I've got collateral. I've got a house as collateral. And so the banks gave me money. But I also developed a relationship with the people at the banks in Florence, South Carolina. And I'm hoping to do that here. And if you're watching and you're here in King Street, South Carolina, I'm hoping to do that with you here. So come on now, let's get this done. That's my little plug, because I want to see the money circulate in my county. So I'm hoping that we can develop that relationship here with the banks here in King Street, South Carolina, because I am looking at duplexes right now. And that's how we did that. That's how we did that. Dun, dun, dun. Did that answer your question, Mary? I hope it did. I hope it did. And on the webinar that we're doing, Kevin Johnson and myself, Kevin will tell you how you can get properties with no money down. All right, it is very, very, very possible. It is very, very, very possible to get your first property. Like I said, I had one for $8,000. I had one for 14 grand. I had one for 10 grand. The one I bought for 10 grand, I think I put about $6,000 worth of rehab into it, repairs and whatnot. And I had a good relationship with contractors. I could call them like, yo, I need a roof on this house real quick. Because I already knew what I was going to do. I needed a roof on it real quick. I knew that there was not great places here to rent in my county that were clean. And I knew that I was going to throw a tenant in there real quick. And I knew that I was going to go to the bank real quick and say, boom, here's this property. How much is it worth? How much you going to give me? And I'm telling you, it was like clockwork. I was faxing them my paperwork, emailing what they need. Then they call me and say, when do you want to close? You know, of course, I had to agree to the terms. This is how many years, this is the interest rate, this is the payment. Are you good with that, Sue? Yeah, I'm good with that. Okay, Sue, what day you want to come to Florence and close and pick up your check? It was just that simple. So now, about to fall. So now I'm looking at other properties. I'm looking at duplexes. And I'm looking at, I know now, because the duplexes I'm looking at, they already have tenants in them. Right? I'm not going to fall for the same mistake I made in 2006 when I was all giddy about buying an apartment complex that already had 7 tenants in it, right? The sellers were so eager to get rid of it because it wasn't making any money. I didn't know at the time that the tenants weren't paying their rent like they should have. I was just giddy to be getting an apartment complex. I didn't know to ask these particular questions. You know, who are the tenants? What do they do? Do they have any criminal records? What type of jobs are they working? When are they there? Are they noisy? Are they law-abiding citizens? That's very important. You know, I always knew to look at the location of the property, okay? But you know, I just never thought to ask, who are the tenants? You know, when was the lease executed? You know, they could be expiring in 2 months. In 30 days, 15 days. Do they plan on renewing the lease? That's very important, because if not, now you got to find new tenants. You got to screen new tenants. Are you going to have a property manager to manage these properties for you? Or are you going to self-manage? You know what I'm saying? And self-manage means that you execute the lease, you collect the rents, you fix anything that's wrong, you handle those calls and whatnot. So that's something to be thinking about as well. How are your tenants paying? Are they paying in cash? Are they paying in checks? Because if you're buying it from a seller and the seller is like, all I get is cash payments, how do you know the seller is telling you the truth? Because you have no way of tracking if these people, sorry about that, I had an incoming call. You have no way of tracking if these people are actually making these payments. So before you start to buy property from sellers, you really need to do a lease audit to make sure what they're telling you is true. Do they have a copy of the driver's license of the person who's renting those units? That was something I always did. I made sure I had the driver's license number, because if they weren't going to pay me my money, you know, we was going to have to go down to the magistrate office or something like that. All right? You want to make sure, if you're buying a property and the property already has tenants in it, that the current owner has a copy of their W-2 or their awards letter or their retirement letter or something showing what type of income they're getting. Because again, the general rule of thumb is, you want your tenant to make 3 times what your rent is. If your rent is $700, your tenant needs to be bringing in at least $2,100 a month. Because if not, it's gonna get real tight. It's gonna get very, 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 very tight, and your rent might not be right. You understand? We don't want that to happen. Then you want to know how many people are living in that house, because if you, like the duplexes I'm looking at, the current owner, he pays water and sewer. Well, if I go in and I take over that, the current tenants may be looking for me to continue to pay water and sewer. Well, it's very important for me to know how many people are living in that unit, because if it's only supposed to be 2 people per unit and it's 6 in this one and 6 in that one, then my water bill is going to be crazy high, and it's going to cut into my income. It's going to cut into my profit, and that's something I don't want. But also, more importantly, if the home or the unit is only built for 2 to 3 people, why would I want 8 people staying there? Because now when they leave out of there, I'm gonna have to do all those repairs if the place is torn down and run down and whatnot, okay? So that's a crash course real quick on questions you should be asking. If you are buying property that already has tenants in it, all right? Those are questions you should be asking even if they don't have the tenants. These are things that you should be asking your people who are coming in to rent. If you are interested in coming to Kevin Johnson in my free real estate class, pick up your mobile device, text the word Suham to 77948. Pick up your phone, put in the number 77948, and in the message box, put Suham. And we will let you know. You come on in. And in the message box, we will let you know when the class will be open so that you can be one of the first recipients. I think we can only take about 100 people, so you're gonna have to register quick when we send that to you. You can also go to suham.com and you can sign up there. So either or. This is one way. This is the second way. We got options. All right, any questions real quick? I'm going to take your questions real quick. Let's see. If this was helpful, please say it was helpful. If this was helpful, say it was helpful. Share it to somebody. Somebody might be getting ready to get into buying apartments or something like that, and they never even thought about this. And this could really make or break a deal for them. It could be a deal breaker. So share the video. One of the things that, thank you, Shahara. She said it was very helpful. Thank you, Deidre. Very helpful. Thank you for tuning in. Share the video, guys. One of the things I just ran for county council, and we were victorious with the race. Rebecca says very helpful. Thank you. I'll be sworn in January 2021, and one of the platform items for me was education. Starting small businesses, right? They go hand in hand as far as I'm concerned. And so I'm always putting out information, and we're giving away a lot of free classes. You can go to this website, suham.com. We've got some free classes, and we got some classes that are $10. But here's what I can tell you. With those $10 classes, you are getting way more than what you paid for. And if you haven't registered, then it's shame on you, because our first class is today Monday or Tuesday? Today's Tuesday, Maurice? Tuesday? Our first class is tomorrow night. Mary says, extremely helpful. Charlotte, North Carolina will be taking the course. Awesome sauce. Our first class is tomorrow night with Tanisha Johnson, Bestseller Johnson, and it's about writing, publishing, branding, using your book to make multiple streams of income. Giving it to you guys for $10. Yes, I said give, because $10 is nothing. And because you guys are always asking, Sue, how do I write my book? Get in the class. Go to suham.com and sign up right now. Get in the class. We have, if you want to learn how to write, direct, and produce your stage play, giving that class to you for free. I'm giving that class to you for free. Suham.com. You want to learn how to do real estate, how to make money, residual income? Kevin Johnson and myself are giving you that class for free. Suham.com. You want to learn the business of acting, how to get your headshots, your reels, how to get booked, what to do, what not to do, so much more. You want to learn it from someone who's been in the business, Carl Kennedy. He's been on the Have and the Have-Nots. He's been on CBS MacGyver. He's been on Greenleaf. He's been on Queen Sugar. And then you've got me as his sidekick telling you all the things that I've been through in the movie with David Talbert, Almost Christmas, on the Steve Harvey Show 2 times, writing and directing and producing stage plays. We will be giving you that class for $10. Suham.com. So I'm staying true to the platform for which I ran on, which is education and business. But you got to plug in. I need you to help me tell more people about the things that are going on, because I want to see us win, man. We need the education, and we need to apply the education. So share this broadcast. I'm glad it was very helpful. I'm hoping that you guys understand that you have to take control of your credit, and you have to take control of your finances, and you have to take control of your mind. Matter of fact, let's start working on that credit. I got some friends. Suham.com, credit repair. It's not my company. I just got some friends, and I'm referring people to them. They can help you with your credit. It's not something that you pay every month. It's a one-time fee, and they can help you with your credit. Shahara, we don't have the real estate registration up on the website yet. That's why we need you to subscribe to the text messaging. Go on your phone to 77948, text Sue Ham. In the next couple of days, we will have the registration for the real estate class. But what's going to happen is we're going to send it to our mobile text people first, and then I'll release it into the world. Okay? So SueHam.com for all the other classes. We have a grant class that's coming up. SueHam.com. You want to get your credit right? I got some great friends that will get your credit right. All you got to do for free consultation, SueHam.com/credit repair. SueHam.com/credit repair. I won't see nothing, won't do nothing. I'm just simply referring you to people who can help you. All right? Good, Shahara. You did the mobile thing. Awesome sauce. So, guys, share the video. Don't be stingy. We'll be doing more videos like this, giving away free information, giving away more free classes, but it's up to you, man. You got to want the knowledge and you got to apply the knowledge. I guarantee you, if you do half the stuff that we put out there, you're going to be successful. I'm telling you, there's no greater feel than to be able to purchase a piece of property, be able to put your hands on it and touch it and know that that's your property, and that you're helping somebody else out because they have nowhere to sleep, nowhere to lay their head, because there's a shortage of nice houses that's available for rent, and you're giving them that place, and you're able to provide for your family and create generational wealth. Come on, guys, let's do this. It ain't that hard. You just got to be consistent, learn the knowledge, and apply the knowledge. My name is Salandia Hammond, also known as Sue Ham, baby, and I'm with SueHam.com. Remember to live, love, learn, and laugh. Don't quit. Follow your dreams.